And so today, Phil is going to be butchering a couple of the Cornish, well, one of the Cornish crosses that, one of the Cornish crosses is going to get butchered, and then the couple of the barred rock roosters because they're getting kind of aggressive. So say hi.
Those are what we call hugging cones, which is a euphemism for killing cones. You drop the chicken into it with the head poking out the bottom. We'll show you this in a little minute. And well, I got to get the water set up and stuff first, so it'll be a couple minutes while I go grab a couple roosters, and then we'll be back to finish them. This is actually chicken number 3. If the water's too hot, it'll tear their skin, so we got to add some cold water. Still a little hot. We want 150. That was like 158. There we go. I usually do about 30 seconds or so, but the most telling sign is they have the yellow skin or black skin on their legs. You pull the skin on their legs and it'll sort of come off. So there we go. Here's our friends the pigs. Hey, pig, pig, pig. And I got them a very special snack today. This is from my friend Ron Gooden, who has a kettle corn job. And this is all the leftover little bits of kettle corn for El Pig. The other one's hiding. We'll come back later and see how much they ate. As you can see, one pig has definitely found the kettle corn to be delicious. There's his buddy, who is part red wattle. You can see the little wattles on that booger. They're finally starting to pork up a little bit. Whoa, kettle corn. Is that the good stuff? Uh-huh. Oh yeah, that's fun stuff. You guys are gonna be like Templeton the rat. Is it possible for them to die of heart disease? Just so you know, this isn't their drinking water. This is their drinking water.
So here we have an egg hatching. This little guy's been sticking his little beak out now and again. Oh, there it is. You can see his little egg tooth there at the bottom, trying to crack that egg open. So as hard as it is to watch the little chicken rolling around and struggling in there, they have to kind of go through this. And you can see how there's all that humidity on the inside there. And if I were to open that humidifier right now and try and help the little chicken to get out of his shell a little bit easier, then I would let that humidity out and then they would probably all die. So it's a little tough to watch him kind of struggling, but that's how they're born and that's what they go through. But as soon as he dries off a little bit, that connection he has to the yolk sac is gonna let go and he'll be able to get out of that shell.
So we were hoping to hatch out some American breast chickens. The eggs were shipped from California and unfortunately didn't get mailed until Tuesday of the week, so we didn't actually receive them until Monday the following week, which is a long time for shipped eggs. And so tried to do everything right, let the eggs rest, put them in the incubator. We were very careful to monitor humidity, temperature, and everything through the whole thing. But despite several of them developing some, we did not have any hatch. Did some control chicks. We did have 50% of the local eggs hatch, so we have 2 Easter eggers, I think, that we can add to our flock, but we only have 2, so now we have to put them in a little brooder for a night, and then we're going to get a broody chicken and stick the chicks under her and let her raise them up as though they're her own. So unfortunately things didn't work out with the breasty chickens, but you know, we'll give it another shot sometime here in the future.
So what's this, Phil?
Oh, so what's this? We have some layer food that I've just hit in the food processor because we don't have any chick food. Tomorrow I'm going to go get some regular chick food, and this is just for tonight. So you can see here, these are the 2 chicks. The Easter egger chicks, I guess is what we would call them. Put them down here. And Lee's going to introduce them to the food now.
They hardly need any introduction. They know what food is. Although, they seem to think that everything is food. They'll learn.
So those 2 little chicks. Unfortunately, we didn't get more. But, you know, it's all right. It'll all work out. Hopefully next hatching will do a little better.
So, yeah. It's not very pleasant outside. It is very yellow-ish. You know, to quote a famous song, que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be.
That night after the storm, Phil had called me outside to take a look at all of the lightning bugs that he was seeing. This is kind of a unique situation because over the years there have always been lightning bugs in West Virginia, but the DNR this year actually called or sent out a message saying that anyone who has lightning bugs on their property to please let them know, because they're seeing a distinct downfall in the population and they want to study this. I think the reason there are so many out tonight is because of the storm. It is always something special because I realized that not everyone in every part of the world gets to see fireflies, and I find that they are very beautiful and peaceful to watch. So this was just us kind of standing in the field watching the fireflies and videotaping them for those of you who are watching who may not actually have fireflies in your neck of the woods. I hope you all enjoy. It's very pretty. What I'm going to do today is, as you can see, all of our weeding efforts, the plants really grew pretty well, but they they haven't, the weeds grew really well too, is what I was trying to say here. So I'm going to kind of pop into the garden here and see if there's anything that we can harvest today. So I haven't given much love to the upstairs garden lately. Just wanted to point out right here, I'm super excited about this. If you guys remember from a previous episode, I planted something called something like fat redheaded lady lettuce or something like that. Fat curly redheaded lettuce. And I made a comment about Phil must have gotten it for me. But look at how neat that stuff is. It's curly and it's red. So that's super exciting. Brussels sprouts are growing. They're not going to be very big, I'm sure. There are some Brussels sprouts growing in there. And then we got some tomatoes up here. We got some ancho peppers. They're not quite good enough to harvest yet. Big enough anyways. Here we've got the okra growing. So that's really taken off. And then here we've got our little squash garden I just trimmed. Because unfortunately, I'm not sure, all of these took off. I wasn't expecting that. So this whole little tiny garden is just full of squash plants, which is great. But what I was noticing was they're kind of just like dying on the vine because they're not getting enough nutrients. So I just trimmed a bunch of the squash plants up. But we do have, here we got a spaghetti squash and a butternut squash, and we've got 2 butternuts on the other side. And then I also just kind of cut back our little herb garden here a little bit too. I just tied it into a bunch and hung it up. It'll make my kitchen smell good. And hopefully it'll dry really nicely. Got a piece of mint in there accidentally, but hopefully it'll dry really nicely and then we'll be able to use it in cooking. And I can use it from this state too. So now I'm going to spread out the harvest from today and take a picture and we'll put it on the video. So right now, Lee and I are going to can the beans that we harvested earlier today. We have just regular ball canning jars. And right now the beans are in the sink and we're just rinsing them off. We did decide this year to go ahead and use some Southern Dust. In this segment, I started to talk about my grandmother and the fond memories I had of canning beans with her when I was a child. But it was kind of wordy, so I decided to shorten it up and just say, my grandma taught me how to can, and I've passed that on to my kids. I used to love sitting outside at her place in Lordstown, Ohio, and stringing beans with her, and then we'd go into her kitchen and she'd show me how to do the canning. So canning to me always just brings back really great memories. Now these are not, by the way, these are not string beans. These are
Green beans.
they're called blue runners. And so that's why, I mean, I'm cutting them in half just because or breaking them in half just because they fit better in the jar that way. But you don't have to string these beans. There are beans that have a string in them, and if you don't string them before you can them, then people that eat your beans aren't very happy with you. So it's always important when you have string beans that you string them before you can them.
But these are a lot easier and they taste the same. So.
Actually, they taste better. So this is a dish that Bill made last night, and I've got this onion here. I'm going to use some of the greens from this onion to add onto this dish. We've got some farm-raised eggs. I have some pork that was from our pigs last year, and these are just really thin pork cutlets that were already cooked actually. And then we've got some of our green beans that we didn't can, and some spinach and stuff. So what I'm going to do is actually, and like I said, I credit Phil, this is his recipe. I'm going to make just pre-packaged ramen. But I'm going to put, I'm going to cook the egg in the boiling water for the ramen. And then we're only going to add like half of a pack of sauce because it's kind of gross. I mean, it's not gross, it's just really salty. And I don't need that much salt. Okay, so I'm going to chop this really finely and use it kind of like a chive. Green beans. And then I'm going to heat this meat up by, like I said, it's already cooked, so don't freak out about the cutting board. I'm going to heat this up by kind of stir frying it really quickly in a hot pan with the green beans and some of the spinach, and we'll top it with the fukake.
Furikake. It's a rice seasoning. It's a Japanese style thing. It's pretty good on ramen. I suggest getting it.
Just throw that pork and some of these green beans in here. A little bit of, this is tamari. It's a type of soy sauce. It's a more Japanese style. It'll do the trick. Put that in there. Tamari has a little bit more, I think, umami than regular soy sauce. I'm just going to heat that up while the water's boiling, and then come back on and show you how to plate this up. Now we're going to go ahead and plate this. My egg got a little macerated because farm fresh eggs are kind of difficult to peel because they haven't sat on a shelf for a long time, so they don't get a lot of air up underneath the shell, and so it's a little bit weird looking, but that's okay. So we're going to start by just pouring in our ramen. You can pour the broth in as well if you like. I'll pour a little bit of broth, but not a lot of it. And then I'm going to put just a layer of some baby spinach right on top, and the heat from that soup is going to kind of wilt the baby spinach a little bit. And then we'll add the stir-fried beans and pork to the dish. Let's see if this works. I'm going to try and cut this egg here. Add the soft-boiled egg and some of the onion that we took from the garden today. And then the furikake rice seasoning. And here you have it. Beautiful bowl of ramen. So let's see if we can taste it. Kind of mix this stuff up a little bit. My hands are wet, so the chopsticks are hard to hold. Get some of that and some of that together. It's very good. I think that many of us grew up eating ramen and not knowing that it was more than just noodles in a package. I mean, when you add all of this stuff to ramen, you can actually have a pretty healthy, hearty meal that will stick with you the rest of the day. You got lots of fiber in here, you've got protein. With the pork, you got fat from the eggs, and of course those farm fresh eggs have that beautiful, thick, dark yolk.
Once again,
Fantastic
thanks
meal.
everyone for watching The Idiot Farmers. We enjoy bringing a little piece of our lives to you to show you how much fun it can be to be a little tiny farm in the middle of West Virginia. If you like this, please click like and please share, and we hope to see you again next week.